Hi everyone, my name is Trang, Trang. I'm a Vietnamese journalist and blogger. Now I'm staying in Villa Aurora for a 9-month fellowship. Well, talking about media freedom, I think people in Germany have much experience regarding this field. And history has shown us that every communist country, from the Soviet Union to the Eastern European bloc to Asian countries, all of the communist countries have the same way to restrict media freedom. However, in China and in Vietnam in particular, given the growth of social media in the recent years, in the era of internet, the governments have been trying new measures to counter and to suppress voices of dissent in the society. Now let me go into more details as to how the Vietnamese Communist Party, the ruling party in Vietnam now, is trying to repress and suppress freedom of media, especially freedom of the internet. First, they maintain a system of propaganda offices working at both national and provincial or local level. These offices hold weekly meetings with the press to mold them into the ruling party's lines. Second, they require that every editor-in-chief and every editor must be members of the ruling party. By that, they ensure that these editors-in-chiefs just act on behalf of the ruling party and for the interests of the ruling party, instead of on behalf of the people or for the interests of the people. Third, they employ the so-called government-issued press card to reject independent journalists, mainly bloggers and freelance writers. So on the one hand, the party and the state tightly control official media. On the other hand, they reject the independence of journalism. They reject the existence of independent and citizen journalism. And fourth, by rejecting independent journalists, they also deny the obligation of protecting freedom of information, especially physically protecting journalists and bloggers. And worse, they give the green light to police forces and thugs or hooligans to persecute, even to assault bloggers and even mainstream media or mainstream journalists without press card. And they can do that very freely, without any shame. They can do that, and they can still tell the world that in Vietnam we have freedom of the press, freedom of speech. Journalists are not obstructed from their work, just the bloggers. So whenever the bloggers in Vietnam come to report a human rights violation, to the trial against a political dissident or a land eviction or worker strike, always they are hindered by the police and by social order defenders. They are even physically assaulted by those forces. And the government still has good reasons for doing that. They can say that we still ensure freedom of the press. Those people are just beaten because they are not journalists. Fifth, they technically hinder people from accessing information provided by unofficial media, simply by setting up firewalls. And if you really want to access unofficial information, you have to be very determined, trying to find a way to circumvent the firewall. And last but not least, they mobilize powerful cyber troops to harass netizens, especially renowned bloggers and political dissidents. They use very crude words, very crude language. They attack and harass netizens every day or even every hour. Regarding the consequences of state restriction of media freedom, so as a result, both bloggers and journalists without press cards in Vietnam are subject to obstructions in their work. And hundreds of bloggers and journalists without press card have been fallen to victims of physical assault and harassment by police forces, thugs, and the so-called outrageous masses of the ruling party's supporters. And worst, dozens of bloggers and journalists, even journalists with press card, have been imprisoned in the past 5 years under very restrictive legislation aimed to restrict freedom of expression, including Article 279, Article 88, and Article 258 of the Penal Code, all are related to national security. So how civil society and alternative media respond? The good news is that in the past 5 years also, some alternative media agencies have emerged and trying to push for democracy and human rights in Vietnam. And apart from them, we also have hundreds of new bloggers and Facebookers every day who are using their Facebook pages and their personal blogs to raise their opinions, to raise their political viewpoints, and to disseminate their viewpoints to the community. Or in general, you can say that they are trying to raise a voice in the hope that Vietnam will change someday. Thank you.